Now, a lot of work has to be done in relation to drugs. Drugs and glue has come up. More information emerges on children and youths either involved in the heavy usage or being targeted by the drug dealers. What is your assessment on the ground? What are you seeing on the ground? And I believe you're doing work with students as well.
Yes. I grew up in America. I did high school in America. And being in that environment, drugs are quite rampant. Spent a little time in San Francisco, so we saw the effects. We can see the effects of drugs on people. I say that to say that what I see here in Fiji, the need and the issues, it's a growing issue, and we're coming to a place where almost looking like what's happening in America. I know we're still a far way off, but it's a growing need, it's a growing issue, and especially with the children. When it comes to dealing with the issue, I would say that the drugs is a symptom. That those who take drugs, it's a symptom of a deeper issue. And there's really, as much as we want to take away drugs and try to keep people from this having access to drugs, there really is a deeper issue at hand in terms of something that children are looking for, young people are looking for, in which they turn to drugs to try to satisfy whatever it is that emptiness is. And that's the thing that we've been trying to deal with. Much of our program is trying to focus on more of the internal issues that young people are struggling with in terms of security, value, worth, confidence, safety, being around the right people. Because once we deal with that, you can have drugs around you, but you'll have no reason to take drugs. I find that that's the strategy that seems to be dealing with the root problem. And I think as we move forward, much of our work is really trying to highlight what the root problem is that young people are facing, dealing with.
I was talking to some young people, and just regarding this issue of drugs, how it was maybe 20, 30 years ago, where it was all hidden, you couldn't access drugs, to now, the younger people are saying it's so difficult because it's just everywhere. And it's easily accessible and it's in your face. And then if people are going through some mental issues, that it's right there, and I mean within the system. How do you tackle that? How can you tackle that?
Well, they're multifold. One, you are already talking to the police. You know they're coming very hard on drugs from at that level. Ministry of Education is now making more counselors and all available, and trying to identify it in schools. So I think many partners are working at a different level to try and remove accessibility as much as we can. But what you said in terms of if children feel safer, and there has to be a lot of awareness and real case studies where people have gone through it and they realize the impact. Like some of these children we meet, they've said we've been on the streets long enough. And I'll tell you a case of a particular boy I spoke with who didn't want to get into rehab. So we spoke with the children that day, Minister and we said, how many of you want to go to youth fair? And 10 of them put their hand up, 11 of them. Some said they didn't want to, right? So one of them, we talked to him, why? And he was quite aggressive, and he said, so eventually we got out of him that he sells marijuana at the market, he's a drug user, he gets easy money, and he doesn't want to. But after a little bit of conversation, because the partner of his, the female partner, had decided to go. So we talked to him about long-term family, and then he went, thought about it, and 15 minutes later he came and he said, I want to be part of it. And he's already been offered a job. So I think showing them another way. Most of them say they're tired of being on the streets, tired of the abuse, tired of some days getting food, some days not. So they will be a shift if there is enough information and there's enough support pathways. Children get easily affected by criticism, by judgment, and I think a lot of, most of us see them and immediately judge them, and they feel it. So how do you actually work through that? Now, if I may go back to, I've been talking to a lot of people in Suva, and some of the parents or some of the people have been saying, look, parents leave from Nosori to Suva to do a job at 5:30 in the morning, 6 in the morning. They don't really see the kids. And the majority of the damage, and we were told this in the West as well, is after 3:30 till they go home. That's the majority of the damage. They said drug is rife, children are floating around in town. And I was very proud to be told that Natamba School's kids are not loitering around because the teachers are there in the morning and in the evening. But what happens here in Suva is parents don't come back home till 7 or 8. So between the 3:35 and that 7, 8 p.m. until parents come home, that's where a majority of the damage is done. What do we do about it? And earlier I was talking to another youth organization. How do we create safety nets so that children can come and do homework, they feel loved, they can talk to somebody about something that happened to schools. You were talking about excessive bullying in schools, sexual abuse in schools. So children need that emotional, mental support and safety net. And they are neglected at the worst of their time. And a lot of young girls that you are hearing now with moving in with spouses, with partners, majority of them are looking for support and emotional support. And this is that young girl moving with adults into relationship is not only an indigenous problem that we are saying with street kids. It's all ethnic groups. We are receiving reports across, and largely these are very dysfunctional families. So I think if we are able to, and we have to think through out of the box, what does a community look like? Do we have housing? Are there places where parents can say, child, after school you go here, and there is support and I'll pick you after 7:30 or something, I don't know. But we'll have to think through how do we look after our children that the elements don't get to them.